Hello, it's Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I'm here to give you this week's energy forecast. Well, last week we all felt I reported on how that basket astrology and all the changes were coming in strong for us, and we were really beginning to feel like something deeper was calling us. Yet last week tended to be more reflective and quite emotional. I had quite a lot of emotions come up last week, a lot of hypothesizing. There was a lot of me reflecting on my previous behaviors and things that I really want to change and move forward to, and things I am not taking with me as we move into this completely new energy that's calling us. I think this week I called the podcast The Radical New You, because this is really what this is now calling in. It's asking you to be free of all those old ways in that kept you small, that kept you hidden, that made you feel unworthy, that did not allow your life to be successful. It's about freeing yourself from those. You should have recognized them by now. You should know the patterns that you keep playing over and over. And you are going to start to stop behaving in those ways. Having wrote them all down, you're going to catch yourself knowing that these old patterns are exactly that, they're old. The alignment of the planets, which I'll go into, that have such an impact on us, aren't really just a magic wand of saying, okay, if you just because you're here alive on this planet, then you're going to get deep change. You're not. We have to meet this energy on the way. We have to work within it, because we're being asked to radically relaunch our identity, our purpose, our creativity, the leadership, relationships, and the way we participate in the future. I had a crazy dream last night that was indicating that there was a new formula that I'd learned on a course about how to upscale what I'm doing. And it wasn't very clear, but I know that the psyche is trying to show me inside that I hold the formula for this next shape, this next movement that I'm taking, that's going to look really different to how I've been operating in the past. This is not a slight upgrade. It's not like you're trading in that old Toyota for just a newer version. This is changing that old Toyota for a Porsche or a Lamborghini. So it's about totally upgrading yourself and knowing that that's possible. But the freedom of who you are meant to be, the freedom of who you could be, is going to be very confronting for us, because it asks us to get rid of the safety of who we were. So looking at this in a psycho-spiritual way, especially through a psychological lens, we all had to be a certain person. Each one of us developed an identity in order to survive our homes, our relationships, our schools, all of those things. And you may have learned many things. Like I learned holding lots of responsibility. I learned to be pleasing. I learned to be quiet, which made me very angry to sit on all the things I had to share and say. We might have been nice, over dependent, self-sufficient. Like, what are these ways, these identities that we developed? How were they developed because of your cultural, family, societal circumstances? And really what we want to do, part of the individuation journey, the spiritual awakening, the evolution of the psycho and the spiritual together, is about really being who you were before you were tamed and taught to being something you weren't. And this energy, this Babolt's basket that everyone keeps talking about, is the opportunity to take a good bloody look at what isn't working for you, as society will, and begin to see what is working. We're going to see in the news arrests and things that have been bubbling up in the collective field coming out ready right now to change, because we can't keep numbing and dumbing down these things that are holding ourselves back, let alone society. So the old identity will often resist the freedom of stepping into the Porsche, because it associates that, oh, I love my Corolla, it was so reliable, it was so good on fuel, and we're a bit scared of getting in the driving seat of the Porsche in case fuel goes up or the insurance goes up or someone scratches that bright red shiny Porsche. So it's the same thing. We have a resistance to it. The old path wasn't wrong. It doesn't mean you've been living your life wrong, but it means that your old life has took you now to the crossroads of becoming freer. And this version of yourself, it taught you all the lessons that you needed to be here. And what you now need to shed is the resistance of this radical change that's coming through. This new you that's coming through isn't about putting on a different coat or a different mask or about being in a different performance. It's really radically being about you not having your personality manufactured or influenced by media or conditioned by your father or your mother. It's about what did you really feel? Who are you underneath all that you have been shaped by? So this allows you to honor the desires that you have inside of yourself, sexual, energetic, money, the way of living your life. You know, I think I'm within my lineage living my life very differently as a woman in the lineage. You know, I'm holding my own business down and my own home. I feel sexually liberated. All of these things that, you know, women have been stopped from doing, you know, not agreeing anymore with marriage or those kinds of establishments that were taught to us because they were the right things to do. So yeah, really, what are your true beliefs around things? And can you identify where a belief or a structure has been implemented on you through religion, through schooling, or whatever it is? So this week is asking us to stop arranging our future around the limitations of the past. And that includes emotional limitations. I've worked on this deeply with women this week, actually, in my groups. Lots of emotions are coming up that are showing them that they are still held within that emotion. Say things like shame, that they're feeling shame, and that feeling of shame hinders them in many, many places, sexual places, confidence places. And then what that does is it poisons the body. We live from that place instead of allowing the emotions to come up to say, hey, shame, I catch you and I don't want to live with this shame anymore. So I need to address why I feel shameful and find out underneath that shame what wants liberating. So we're being called to rebuild ourselves from the truth of what we actually want and believe rather than what was expected of us. So there's some big questions around this that all of you that will join my inner temple, you will get all the questions to help you dive really into these parts of emotions that are stuck and the kind of feelings that are still trying to pull you back into the past self rather than expel you forward into the future. So I hope that you'll find all of those useful. And like I said, I'll put a link under this video that you can be directed to those questions. And I'll talk more about that later because I want to go on to what's happening on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the 22nd, we actually have the sun entering Leo. So this is perfect timing, isn't it? As Leo is that exhibitionist, is that one that wants to be seen. So it changes the energetic emphasis on what we've been feeling so far. And Cancer season, let's remember, it's been about the past, about memory, about family, about home, about heart, the need for safety. But Leo season is really asking us to move from this kind of protective shelteredness into more vibrancy, into more visibility, into courage, creativity, joy, confidence, expressing ourselves, speaking our truth. Like there's no such thing as a universal, I mean, there is God's truth, of course, but we all live by different truths. And I think we get so caught up in spirituality being nice and perfect, non-judgmental. Truth is, you know, whatever this old spiritual jargon is. It's really about being authentic. What do you feel? What do you believe? Voice it. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about allowing yourself to speak with self-expression, sovereignty, and confidence. And this is a place in Leo that I feel is really important, that we stop going, oh, well, this happened to me and this is the reason I am. We know that that has affected us. We really do. But I want us to rather reframe that thing about, because this happened to me, how do I want to live now? How has that changed me to live a different way? Because Leo reminds us that healing is not a final destination, that healing is a way of life, and that healing creates the space that life can begin moving again. Wounding, illness, all the things that are not healed keeps us stuck. So the healing makes us move again. We're not meant to live lives that are spent analyzing the ruins all the time. And we can get I'm bad at that. I'm really bad. I love analysis. I love self-work, but we can sit and dwindle on the ruins, like of a relationship or of a job or of a situation. But when are we going to walk away from the ruins and rebuild? That's the key question. I am at a rebuilding stage now, finally there. I've done my healing over the last episode, and I'm really feeling, okay, Colette, it's time to rebuild. So what's being rebuilt for you? How do you want to build from what's happened to you in the past? We're meant to create things from the things that have brought us down, that have wounded us, that have hurt us, that have caused us problems. These are the very foundations in which we build from. They give us the gumption to build. So reflect on the last time of what went on and what affected you, and then how that's going to redefine you and restructure and grow your new life, the new version of you. We've also got the sun here. Remember, the sun, it amplifies everything, is meeting Jupiter, and this is this important basket that everybody's talking about. So when the sun meets Jupiter in the Barbolt's basket, we've got three major things, and this is the first one. Sun meeting Jupiter is the permission you have been waiting for to be more. The sun moving into Leo begins activating Jupiter's expansive presence. Jupiter has this huge presence. It magnifies whatever it touches. So in Leo, Jupiter is trying to magnify your confidence, your creativity, your leadership, your visibility, your generosity, your authority, sovereignty, and the idea that you can live yourself fully. This, for me as a woman, I was sharing with somebody today, I think a lot of us as women, we can really kind of try to make ourselves smaller. We don't want to be, I was saying that sometimes even living where I live, I try not to dress too flamboyantly because I don't want to be like looked at too much, or I don't want to feel like too much, or I don't want people thinking, God, who does she think she is? And that's happened to me more here, I think, because I live in quite a rural area. But I feel like there's a part of me that I've really compressed being here as well. And so, yeah, like just my kind of feminine mysteries nature. Like I'm wearing my t-shirt today. You can have him, Jolene, which is very me. Just like stop hiding these things that we're passionate about, and stop hiding ourselves, our bodies, the way we look, our wrinkles, all of those things. We need to be unapologetic about what we what we own within ourselves. So it's giving yourself the internal permission slip, really. I'm not saying that we need to go to the place where we're not looking at our shadow, like there's behavior that we all have in our shadow. But I'm quite outspoken, and I hold quite strong views about things. And I've found all my life I've been trying to quieten, and then when I do, it comes out in a wrong way sometimes, because I'm around people that I know won't appreciate it, and then that makes me fiercer. And So recently, it's just giving myself the permission to say, do you know what? I hold certain radical beliefs. I think differently than a lot of people. And if that isn't them, then they can they can find someone who is them. And I'll find people, and that has been happening, that are more aligned with me and my views. And that is what will come to you with Barbelt's basket. We're going to get this aligning of all the things that are connected to your truth and to your authenticity as a person. So we will recognize with this transition that we have been living much smaller than we are capable. We have been hiding our voice, our body, how beautiful we are. We've been hiding how sexual we are, our sexual energy. I know I work a lot with that with women, and we're scared what other people would think of that, or how that might make us look, or that it acts in a way that's all about having sex, which it's not. But about this kind of heroine inside of us that, when we've watched those movies with the heroine in, we're like, oh, we think she's radical, she's amazing. And I think we always have that in myth where the heroine starts off hiding these bloody amazing things about herself. And then suddenly someone tells her, like, think about Wonder Woman. Oh, you're Wonder Woman. And suddenly she lets all the gifts out that she'd always carried. So we give ourselves that permission. We crown ourselves as Wonder Woman and we say, where am I hiding my gifts? What am I really good at? How am I really, like me? I'm super intuitive, and around some people I hide that because they go, oh, it's all woo-woo or whatever. So think about the circumstances, think about what you tend to dilute yourself in, and try to allow those very things that are your gifts to come through. So please acknowledge that fear of judgment from others hinders you and limits your expression. I have always been someone that said, no, I don't let people do that, but I do. The truth is, I do. And the more I've become aware of that, the more I'm trying to not let other people hinder my voice, my beliefs, what I stand for, those kinds of things. So I hope that you can too. Jupiter in Leo asks us to take our own existence serious, to know that we are important, and that joy, our gifts, creativity are not indulgences. They're not things that we're like, oh, well, that's just like a little indulgent. They're actually part of what we're here to contribute in society. We're meant to bring our creativity in. We're meant to bring our gifts in. Imagine a world if Van Gogh hadn't painted, or Bach hadn't produced music, or William Wordsworth hadn't wrote, or Emily Bronte hadn't produced books. Imagine if they didn't allow what they wanted to share in the world out. We would be so barren. So you all have these gifts inside of you. You all have these things inside of you that are here to contribute to society. What are they, and why are you holding them back? So in that space, it's really asking us to look at the shadow of where we're inauthentic, where we're trying to be something we're not, or we're hiding who we truly are to be liked, and the shadow of trying not to impress. We're not here to impress. We're here to just be authentic and let the gifts come out. We are finding that the confidence speaks, not a performance. And everything we do is not really about external applause, but the self applause inside. I did this, the motivation, today I'm in the gym and I did something like that. I achieved something, and it makes me feel euphoric. Like I came off the machinery, I felt euphoric. It was an inner feeling. It didn't matter if no one, when they didn't see me. That isn't the point of doing what we do. We do it to achieve this inner goal within inside of us. So what's the next part of the basket is Jupiter trining Neptune. If we can do all of that, if we can allow this authenticity, if we can speak what we're here to speak, if we can let our gifts, if we can be authentically ourselves, we have a vision of a new life being that person. So I now look back and realize who I was, why certain things came into my life, and understanding now, well, if I want my life to look like this, I've got to do these things differently. So Jupiter's connection with Neptune expands your imagination and your spiritual vision. You might sense a future in front of you that you can't understand yet, but you know it's there, it's coming, and you've not worked it out. It's connected to what you've been longing for, what you've been dreaming about. It might have been a repeated idea over and over again. It involves creative impulses. And it absolutely involves you refusing to live life like you have been. This is for everyone. You have got to change your life in some way. Barbolt's basket is showing us that none of you can go on the way you have. This has created the world we live in. What needs to change now? Neptune's energy with the trine with Jupiter will really try to open your imagination. Get really visual. Get your vision boards out. Get what you want your life to look like. Don't be afraid of saying, this is what I want. I want the red Porsche. I want the community. I want my life every morning to be in nature. What is it you want? And then what you can do is feel that Jupiter gives you the faith to believe that this vision could become real. It could be. I'm not going to put, I'm going to own a kingdom and have every, G-Wagon in the world but I'm just going to sit at home and eat chips and watch the TV. That's never going to happen. But I can have a vision that is doable, even though that might challenge me, even though that might push me, even though at this point I think, oh, how is this going to work out? But I know it's possible. I'm not in fantasy about it. Don't be in fantasy about it. Being realistic. What does that bigger image dream look like? The aspect of you that knows that that's in sound side of you is really coming forward in this energy because it wants you to move beyond. It's fed up of your life. Can you not feel it? I mean, I can feel it in me. I'm fed up. I've been in like a gilded cage here. All my dream was to be in the country, to be self-sufficient, have this lovely temple house by the river. But it's become a gilded cage for me. And there's this bigger space now that I want to break out in. There's big challenges into my next step, and it's in process at the moment. And I nearly took a side step where I could have joined somebody else's vision. But this vision is mine that I'm holding, and I know I can do it, and I've got to do it step by step. I don't know what it looks like, how it will unfold exactly, but I know that my soul can lead me there if I've got the energy, the gusto, and I get out of those old bloody patterns that I've been in. So I'm asking you the question, and much more in the inner temple, is what future is trying to reveal itself to you that you know could be possible? Big one. No fantasy, yeah, a realistic, I've got this within me to do it. I just need to pluck up that courage, get out of that old pattern, stop behaving in the ways that have kept me small. I think this is incredible energy, isn't it? It really is incredible because I know all of you that listen to this podcast have had something deeply seeded inside of you and you've been a little bit scared by it. I mean, I've had this vision. I've been terrified by it. I've kind of gone round the edges, but I'm feeling now how I need to hold it and take the steps and trust the unfolding. That's for me anyway. So what is it for you? I'd love to know in the comments. And the final part is the Jupiter, again, good old Jupiter in the basket, is sextiling Uranus. And this is breakthrough. We've been waiting for the breakthrough, haven't we? Uranus is going to bring the liberation, the real liberation, awakening and disruption. I did talk about some of this next week, but it's just, I'm going deeper this week. You're going to get some like sudden insight. Somebody might come through, a proposal, a message. There's something coming through and it's unexpected. It could come in the conversation. You might have just a quick change of mind about something. There might be a technological or a creative breakthrough, a connection. I keep feeling connections, like new connections come in, or that new route, like a new thing comes to you and you think, oh gosh, I didn't think about that. Maybe this way would be better for me. The old story is more likely to go for you when a new perspective appears. When you say, yeah, like this is done. I'm done here, but I can see this path would be amazing for my soul and my life. So I really think that life changes not just because the external changes. I really believe that within my Jungian work and the analytical work, that things change because the inside changes first. When we stop interpreting ourselves through the old story or the old version of ourselves and start acting, believing, and feeling like the new version of ourselves, then we can actually begin to change the tertiary of our life. And I have many methods in my groups to do this, like individuation, active imagination. I do a lot of practices around how we can feel the archetype, the heroine, especially, that's very, very big, which is really wanting to move through all the work I'm doing at the moment with myth and the new myth temple that starts this week on Wednesday. I am working through these themes in the heroine's journey. What are the challenges for us to radically move our life and become bigger and oppose the forces that try to keep us small? That's a fundamental story in all stories. So I'm really going to be going into that in the myth and fairy tale temple. So if you're really feeling life is in a changing direction to you and you want to know the pitfalls, the initiations, how to spot them, come and join me in the temple. The other thing with Jupiter is that it's opposing Pluto, and this is the confrontation with power. This is why I'm going into the myth. So in Sleeping Beauty, for example, she has the confrontation of the power of the stepmother. She has the confrontation of the power of the prince to release her. There's deep other meanings to that I'll be going into in the tale. But if you can work out within your story, within your personal myth, where the confrontation with is power, then you can actually front it. Think of Luke Skywalker. The confrontation of power was with his father. Yeah. So we all have this confrontation of power, and it's a game changer. So Pluto in Aquarius exposes the collective systems, the groups, the power structures that have shaped our identity. Like, let's take a look at social media. Now it's shaping people now, The opposition reveals where we have exchanged authenticity for belonging. Let's go back to school, like Luke Skywalker or any heroine that realizes her old life of not being a heroine was actually to do with the fact that she didn't know that she was a princess or that she had the power within her to change it. It can really expose this Jupiter opposing Pluto, the places that you have silenced yourself. Coming up big time for me. Where you've sought approval, where when someone's disagreed with something you've said or fallen out with you, that you just unconsciously still seek their approval. Well, sod them, Fear rejection, big one for us all. Well, if I speak this truth out, then they're not going to like me because I hold a different opinion. Same thing. It gives your authority away. It gives your power away. It allows individuals or communities to define us. I recently had someone try to tell me what I could and couldn't speak about in conversations. And I realized that if I just submitted to that, then I would have become part of that community that person is. And I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be part of the community that I know and love, which is women who are speaking out about other women, about women who are trailblazing, not the ones who are only concerned for themselves. So it was a big decision to say, no, I'm not. And I don't care if you don't like me. And I don't care if you reject me. And I don't care if you get other people to reject me, which also happened. So yeah, I'm feeling this place where I'm anchoring into myself. I'm not allowing external forces to tell me what I can and can't do or try to minimize things that I feel very passionate about. So think about that for you, the confrontation with power. it reminded me very much of a mother wound within me, in that I actually back down all the time. And now, as a grown ass woman, absolutely not. So we must not remain loyal to the roles that no longer allow us to be stronger, more powerful, more empowered and sovereign. And Pluto is really asking you to recognize the hidden forces that will make you be quiet, or will reduce your power or your sovereignty, or try to silence you or make you smaller. Recognize where they are and absolutely go against them. Go against them, no matter what the cost. Jupiter will reward us when we do that by giving us a bigger crowd, a bigger space, a bigger life, because we're no longer trying to fit in the tight containment of everything else. There's lots of tension here. Personal sovereignty versus a collective or a societal expectation of you. Authentic expression over fears of you being judged. The future you desire versus the identity that keeps you acceptable in the small places that hold you back. Your creative authority versus the pressure to conform. Big, big ones. I think we can all really feel that in our skin. I really want to talk about how this is bringing up freedom versus familiarity. That word. So what's familiar and what's free? Freedom comes from releasing what's familiar. What's familiar is safe. We get stuck in these old, painful patterns. Hesitation, self-sabotage, procrastination, a desire to return to what we knew, an old relationship, an old job, an old way of thinking, an old friendship group, whatever. Shrinking after being visible, or questioning decisions that actually did free you from what wasn't good for you. Don't go back there. Don't go back. Keep being in the grounds of unfamiliar. Keep being in unfamiliar. I think that will help you understand that familiarity is keeping you small and hooked into the old patterns. And if you're feeling a little bit, oh, this is not familiar, but it feels free, then this is the right way to go. There's so much in this report that generally what I do when there's loads and loads is I don't bore you all with the podcast. I actually still post some things on my Facebook page and on my Instagram and within the inner temple. So I really wanted to talk about the lunar nodes changing sides, but it's too lengthy. So what I'm going to do is post some information about that just in my general community space and on my social media this week. This is important because it is briefly about a karmic story changing, a new karma. We've been serving out the old karma, and when these nodes shift, there's a new karmic story that's coming forward. So I'll write about that so I don't bore you. But the basket is playing heavily, that Jupiter energy. We cannot escape it. We've also got Saturn in retrograde. Saturn is this huge planet we know deeply impacts us. It's about where the past is reviewed but not revived. I've just shared about that, not going back. It can temporarily turn our attentions towards things like things we didn't finish, old fears, previous decisions that we made, responsibilities, boundaries, the foundations beneath our new beginning. It will make us look at that. It doesn't mean we're going backwards with Saturn, but it's asking us to reflect on if what we're building is strong enough and not based on the past. We might need to revisit something from the past. There might be something coming up for you now that's asking you to understand it, complete it, reclaim authority about it, establish a firmer boundary, or revive some wisdom that you left behind in that situation. So it's just information. It's not a destination. It's not going back to him. It's not taking that old job back because you feel uncomfortable. It's just about gathering the information about it so you can understand that the foundation for this new beginning cannot be built on that. So I wanted to say that. So let's recap over this really personal journey that we're going through. I tried to condense it into 3 parts. Number 1 is recognizing the old identity. And in the inner temple, there will be a set of questions on how you do that. Every single part of this will be addressed in the inner temple. So recognizing your old identity. Who did you act like? Who you were performing as? What did you behave like, look like? All of those things. The next part is about meeting the emerging self. So who is this new version of you coming through? What does she look like? What does she act like? How is she different from the old version of you? Make that really clear. And again, there'll be questions in the inner temple. And then part 3, we've got building the new life. This emerging self, she's not going to be complete. She's a new emerging version of you, like Persephone stepping up from the underworld. She's like, oh my goodness, I'm now the queen of the underworld. How do I behave? This is the same for you. You're beginning to bring a new life into, and that's going to ask you to really allow the new emerging self to gain some experience on being that. While I was writing this report, I was really feeling the feminine archetype of Metis, and she was an ancient Greek goddess that was connected to wisdom and strategy. She was about transformation and deep instinctive intelligence. Her wisdom wasn't just intelligence, it was instinctual. She was able to rebirth herself. She knew when an old strategy wasn't working. She could remain in the ability to develop, change, evolve. And this internal intuitive intelligence that was within her, which is probably the best way to describe it, could change the world, could change all of that around her. And I'll write more about her in the inner temple as well, so you can learn about this Metis. And the reason I do the archetypal connections in the energy forecast is because the more we learn about archetypal feminines, the more we can really embrace these within ourselves. We can see the whole plethora of gifts that's available to women and power that's available to women that are generally untapped into our psyche. So I want to close really by saying and summarizing that the past has totally shaped you and I. It really has. But I'm not going to allow, and neither are you, for it to design the rest of your life. We have to underwrite it now. That's what this astrological energy is really asking us to underwrite now everything from our past, to say, okay, yeah, we've learned from it, we've analyzed it, we've emoted it, we felt it, if you've done that. And now I'm underwriting it and saying it's no longer got the authority to design my future. The identity that we've all created to survive deserves compassion. It deserves for you to say, oh my goodness, like how you survived all of that. But like the victim, it shouldn't remain in charge in your psyche. It should begin to say now, okay, I know that you were built from those circumstances, but you are no longer in control of me. I am opening my vision. I am allowing the old story to lose its energy, its libido, because this is now a breakthrough point, and I'm going to take this breakthrough point and walk through this initiation, because I've got a different thing to build, and I want to build this on strong foundations that do not have any of the old stuff from the past in. And I'm going to make myself more visible, more in my pleasure, desire, and creativity. The old you is going. You have to say goodbye to her. And I would do a ritual around that. I would very much begin to think, who is that old version of me? How do I release her from my psyche? I would even say draw her up, like label her, color her in, and then do a ritual with fire, burn her, bury her in the soil, in the earth, if you wish. and then begin to think, who is this new version of me? I was doing the archetypal feminine a couple of months ago to really help with this energy. So you had an archetypal vision of yourself as we step into this new world. So, yeah, there's quite a lot going on this week, and that's why these forecasts are a little bit more deeper. Again, much appreciation to all of you who like, share, comment on my videos. It really keeps me in the inspiration of recording these. And really, please do comment. I'd love to hear your feedback from these reports and how they land with you and what's going on for you, because you're very much part of this movement forward. So I love reading the comments and the inboxes that you send me. Thank you very much. I also would like to invite you all to the Myth and Fairy Temple. I think it's really important. And my focus with myth and fairy tale is when I analyze it with the women that are coming to the groups, that we really use it to look at how we use some of these sacred spiritual initiations and lessons in our own lives. What are they teaching us about the feminine? What are they teaching us about the heroine's journey? How do they initiate us as women? So it's not just a fairy tale in my groups, it's really practical, and I create applications within the fairy tale temple. I mean, this week, the things I've produced for the Sleeping Beauty is getting women to recognize where they're asleep, what wants to be awakened in them, what the animus energy wants to do, and how it wants to wake them up and kiss them and bring them to life. Just lots of practical things. So I'd love to see more of you join me. It's this Wednesday evening. They're all recorded. And yeah, so you don't miss if you can't come to the live. It's very, very much still alive as a recording. And then the final thing, I was creating something exciting last week with an inspiration from an antique piece that I found with regards to oracular telling. And so I really wanted to give some time to my creativity, and I've recreated a very antique oracular device, let's say. So I'll be sharing that this week. I'm excited to share that. You'll be able to download it. So have an amazing week. Really focus on the old version of you that's going, the new version of you that's beginning to emerge. And that's enough for this week. And I will look forward to, again, another in-depth report next week. But keep your eye out on my socials. I'm always updating the psycho astro world as much as I can to help you all. Thanks again. Bye for now.